This lesson will be over rates. So let's look at this number routine. How do you fix this mistake? It's 1 and 3/4 plus 2 and 3/8 is equal to 3 and 1/2. Well, 1 whole plus 2 whole is 3. I don't see anything wrong with that so far. But isn't 3/4 more than 1/2? So I do see a mistake already here. So let me get my pen. So, what do you remember from 5th grade on how do you add a fraction? You have to have a common denominator. What do 4 and 8 share in common? 8. So can I rename 3/4 into another fraction with 8 as the denominator? 3/4 is equivalent to 6/8. So if I add 1 and 6/8 to 2 and 3/8, it would be 3 and 9/8. But what do you realize here? Is there something wrong with this fraction? It is improper. From elementary school, you should know another way. So 3 and 9/8 is really like saying 3 plus the improper fraction of 9/8. So I add 3, 2, and how do you turn 9/8 into a mixed number? 1 and 1/8. Before you say to yourself, how did he get that? How many 8s go into 9? One time. What do you have left over? 1/8. Some of you from elementary school may have done it this way. Can 8 go into 9? One time. What do you have left over? 1. 1 and 1/8. So 3 plus 1 and 1/8, the final answer will be 4 and 1/8. That is the answer. So fix the mistake. There are plenty of mistakes here. All right, so Molly shot. So in our previous lesson, we talked about unit rates. Unit rates are breaking it down into one unit, or each unit, or per unit. So Molly shot 20 baskets in 4 minutes. Nico shot 42 baskets in 6 minutes. How many more baskets did Nico shoot per minute? That's for each minute, for 1 minute. So let's look at Molly. 20B, make sure you label it because we do not know what 20 stands for. Rates, you got to. It's about different quantities in different units. So 20 basket, 4 minutes. Can I break that down to per minute? Per minute means 1 minute. So what should I divide this numerator and denominator by to get 1 minute? By 4. So if I divide the numerator and denominator by 4, I get 5 baskets, 1 minute. That's not bad. So Molly can shoot 5 baskets in 1 minute. Nico, on the other hand, can shoot 42 baskets in 6 minutes. So if I had to break, it says per minute. So what is his result? Each minute, per minute, 1 minute. I divide by 6, and I get 7 baskets per minute for each minute for 1 minute. So did Nico do better? Yes, he does. How much better is he than Molly? 2 baskets. He does an extra 2 baskets for every minute, 2 baskets per minute, 2 baskets for 1 minute or each minute. All right, so again, what is a rate? A rate is comparing two quantities with different units, like miles and hours, miles and gallons, something dollars per cupcakes, dollar per movie tickets. A unit rate, on the other hand, is where your denominator is 1, where you're finding how much it costs for each one of those units, for each hour, each magazine, each minute. Usually you say it with the word per. Per means for every one, for each one. For example, we have if, for example, let's use a different example from here. You're at a grocery store and you find boxes of crackers and you find I don't know, 8 boxes for $2. 8 boxes for $2, and you want to know how much it costs for 1 box. You don't want to buy that many boxes of cracker. That's way too many boxes of cracker. So if you had to break, oh, I should write it down. So you have found 8 boxes of crackers. So you have 8 boxes of crackers for $2. This is unit price. I would like to know how much it costs for 1 box of cracker. So divide by 8, divide by 8, $2, divide by 8. Can 8 go in 2? 0 times. How do I get rid of this remainder? How can I get rid of this 2 without changing its value? 0.0. Can 8 go into 20? 2 times. That's 16. 4. Get rid of this 4. Add another 0. Bring it down. How many 8's go in? 45. So it costs 25 cents per box of cracker. 25 cents for each cracker box. 25 cents for 1 cracker box. And so that's unit rate and unit price. Unit price is dealing with money. Unit rate is just dealing without money. So the table below shows the distances and times it took 4 bus drivers to transport children to Camp Hope from 4 different cities. I assume it's in Texas because Camp Hope is in the Texas. Actually, it's somewhere in the Houston area. I think it's northwest of Houston. So we have Mr. Sanchez, Mrs. Mills, Mr. Holloway, and Mrs. Alexander. So they drove different amount and distances. Some drive faster than others. Some drive way slow. Can you figure out? So what does the expression 188 divided by 4 represent? Well, 188 stands for the distance divided by 4 stands for the time. Or 188 is mile divided by hours. So we are dividing the miles by hour. Why are we doing that? Miles per hour. I would like to know how many miles these drivers drive per hour. Each hour for 1 hour. So this will represent Mr. Sanchez. We are going to figure out how many miles he can drive per hour. Write an expression to find the distance Mrs. Mill travels in 1 hour. Mrs. Mill drove 168 miles. And it took her, so let's label that 168 miles. It took her 3 hours. So write an expression to find the distance. So if I need to break it down to 1 hour, I need to divide. Divide by what? 3. So our expression will be 168 divided by 3. So in order to find out how many miles she drives in 1 hour, we have to divide the distance by time. So bar model. Some of you like bar models, some of you may not prefer, but I will show you it. Mr. Sanchez drove blank miles in 1 hour. So Mr. Sanchez did 188 miles. Let me list that down. He did 188 miles in short-term memory, kids. 4 hours. So I need to break this down into 4 sections. So how many miles will go to each section? So let's divide this. So 188 miles divided by 4 hours. It goes in 4 times. 16. Subtract 18 and 16, you get 20, and then you bring down the 8. How many 4s go in 28? 7 times. So this Mr. Sanchez drives 47 miles 1 hour, another 47 hours in 1 hour, and so on. So in other words, you can almost say he drove 94 miles in 2 hours, or 47 miles per hour, each hour 1 hour. So Mr. Sanchez drove 47 miles in 1 hour, or 47 miles per hour. That's a slow driver. He must be using back roads. Mrs. Mills drove 168 miles in 3 hours. So 168 miles in 3 hours. Let's go back to Mr. Sanchez. Some of you may not prefer the bar model. I like the bar model, but hey, if you don't prefer the bar model, to each your own. You could set it up as in fraction form. 188 miles, 4 hours. How do I break this down to 1 hour? I need to divide by what? To turn 4 hours to 1 hour, I divide by 4. So I need to divide the numerator and denominator by 4. And I've already did it right here, as you can see, to work. So it's 47 miles for 1 hour. 47 miles per hour, 47 miles for each hour. So do you prefer the bar model? Or do you prefer setting up, and we're going to be learning this as a proportion. So again, Mrs. Mills drove 168 miles in 3 hours. As you know, I broke it up into 3, yes, equal section. Yes, it's supposed to be equal section. So how many miles will go to each section? I will divide by 3. Can 3 go in 16? 5 times. 16 minus 15 is 1. I bring down the 8. How many 3's going to 18? 6 times. So we have 56 miles each hour. So in the first hour, she drove 56 miles. In the next hour, she drove 56 miles. So you can almost say that she drove 56 plus 56, 112 miles in 2 hours. So she drove 56 miles in 1 hour, 56 miles per hour for each hour. Not bad, not bad. So what if you do not like using the bar model? You may prefer setting up as a proportion, which we have not learned yet. But this is a proportion. It's when two ratios are equivalent to each other. So 168 miles is 3 hours. I need to break this down into 1 hour. So how do I break 3 hours to 1 hour? I divide by 3. I divide by 3. As you can tell, I did it already. So it's 56 miles 1 hour, 56 miles each hour, 56 miles per hour. Now, Mr. Holloway drove blank miles in 1 hour. So Mr. Holloway drove 315 miles. I believe it said 5 hours. So let's divide this into 5 sections. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. So I need to break the 315 into how many groups? 5 groups, because I have 5 sections. Can 5 go into 31? 6 times. So if I subtract 31 and 30, I get 1. I bring down the 5. How many 5s go in 15? 3 times. So I get 63 miles for each hour. 63 miles per hour. 63 miles for 1 hour. That is a great driver, in my opinion. But it is a school bus. School buses can. Did you know school buses cannot drive as fast as other vehicles, as a personal vehicle? So 63 miles 1 hour, or 126 miles in 2 hours, or 189 miles in 3 hours. What if you do not prefer this? What do you prefer setting up as a rate, or like this way? Make sure you label these. 315 miles, 5 hours. Now I'm going to set it as a proportion. Again, we haven't learned it yet. The proportion is when you have two ratios that are equivalent to each other. So I need 1 hour. So how do I break down 5 hours to 1 hour? Divide by 5, and I already did already. So it's 63 miles per hour for each hour for 1 hour. And the last person, Alexander. 112 3 hour, 112 3 hour, 112 3 hour, 112 3 hour, 112 3 hour. So 112 miles in 3 hours. So I need to break this down into 3 sections. So of 112 miles, I need to break it down into 3 sections. How many miles will go in each hour, each section? How many 3's go in 11? 3 times. 11 minus 9 is 2. Bring down the other 2. How many 3's go in 22? 7 times. Uh-oh. Oh no, we're going to have a decimal. How do I get rid of this 1? How do I get rid of this remainder? Oh, and I want to change this value, so I add a 0.0, a placeholder here. Bring it down. How many 3's going to 10? 3 times, which is 9. 10 minus 9 is 1. You know what? I'm going to realize this will, it's like deja vu. It's going to repeat. It's a repeating decimal. So I will put it right here. So Mrs. Alexander drives 37 and you see the 3 repeating miles each hour. So we'll just estimate about 37 miles each hour. Oh my God. That is really slow. That's 37 miles per hour. 37 miles each hour or 1 hour, or 37.3 with the repeating bar. Ugh, I would never want to be in that person's car. So again, if you do not like the bar model, I like the bar model, but if you do not like the bar model, we set up as a rate 112 miles in 3 hours. I need to break it down into 1 hour. How do I break 3 hours to 1 hour? I divide by 3, and I get 37 and 3 repeating miles per 1 hour each hour. So which driver do you prefer? I personally prefer Mr. Holloway because he will get me to Camp Hope faster than the other 4 drivers. But he may be reckless. So maybe Mrs. Mill is a safe bet. Depends, again, it depends on the speed limit too. Alright, so our last thing we're going to talk about is ratio tables. We're going to go to the next video and talk about ratio table. But this is, imagine you are buying these candy at £3 per $3 per pound, $3 for 1 pound, $3 for each pound. How much would you pay for 2 pounds? $6. Not 3 pounds, $9.12. So this is our lesson on rates, which is pretty much unit rates.